Hey everybody, Kane here, and welcome to another video of Art of Conquest. So, in this one I kind of decided to talk about how you would be able to build a tanky stall side. Pretty much majority of my game time I had an immovable stall side, like even prior to the patch, like 1 month ago. It took people more than 1 minute to bypass it, or they didn't bypass it at all. Like there were many 25 to 30 million cores that literally just got stuck on it. And that because I had a ton of buffs, debuffs, and I also utilized plenty of stuff. So I did tell quite a few people, but without showing everything and like explaining for half an hour, not many people ended up building the proper ones. So for this one, I'm gonna first showcase some of my formations and the stall side variations that I did. I had 6 PvP formations at one point, but I mean, I don't know what happened to this one and what I was doing with this. So currently I only have 5. So this one, I used it like this. This is when I tried spiders. We have 4 places for spiders. This is 30 heroes. To be honest, spiders were kind of good because they were like an additional tank and debuff, but you kind of require Cosmic maxed out for them to not be useless. So honestly, that is some build that I might return to in the future, though I'm not entirely certain when. I mean, they did give us access to more Cosmic. This one, spiders were removed, but the formation was sort of similar, but without additional spiders we had 4 skeletons. Formation was about 30 heroes. This one is a formation. I think I used this and a variation of this one we're gonna show in a second for 4,400 dual tower last season. We were like, what, 3 points short? This is 30 heroes. So aside from that, this is one of the formations that I tried testing and it failed miserably. So I was using Rufio. I even honestly had Grims, but I mean, I didn't have the proper setup on the Grims. I was just testing that. And honestly, this goddamn friggin' Lees, because I was facing either Lee here or here at that point, but most people are moving Lees to the corner, so it's kind of better right now, at the very least, in like against multiple people. And in the end, the stall side was exactly the same, but I was using Hopnia on burst side. Now, for older formations, I was using her on my stall side, you probably have noticed, and Kitano was on the stall side as well. Now, in some of them, he actually was on burst. I was also testing him and his buffs and debuffs, and I mean, as good as they can be, this hero performs a lot better on stall side. So, this is the stall side of my newer formation. Pretty much similar to what it was, just some heroes moved to different sides. And of course, both of these heroes that could be on burst were moved to the stall. So we're gonna touch on that, and we're gonna touch on what you can do to make it better. So let's use a new window. I know that for a decent portion of my viewers are kind of new servers, so there is a couple of ways that you can do a formation. It depends, and you're gonna have to test yourself. It's really hard to say because you have access to other features, better buffs, and stuff like that, but not as much as the older ones. So the way you can do it, it depends how many heroes you can still place. So the way it should go is you get Virion, and you get Virion with Astrarium Fati. And this is gonna add a ton of tankiness. Pretty much, enemy mages are clearing the entire stall side. Some people would say Valkyrie's banner is better. No, it's not better. Like, stop it. Stop it. Come on. Astrarium Fati provides 35% magic resistance for a portion of time. At the very least, for skeletons, it provides healing. Your skeletons are not tanking because they're tanky. Your skeletons are tanking because of invincibility. Especially in the first 30 seconds, that invincibility is 4.5 seconds. So what Astrarium Fati does is it doesn't usually let a portion of those skeletons to invincibility. So if the person is nuking, say, 37 skeletons of your entire squad and that one skeleton is full HP, that doesn't matter. Most of his burst sight will still focus that one skeleton for 4.5 seconds and then kill it right after. So the matter is, you have to keep your skeletons alive for as long as possible. I'm not saying Valkyrie's banner is bad. I'm saying for skeletons in particular, it's better because they are tanking for longer, a lot longer. Because, for example, mechs, they have so much resistances. Swordmen, I believe, have more resistances and, tankiness stats than skeletons, apart from that invincibility. So you have to implement invincibility and try to use it to your advantage. Aside from that, you want to add Valkyrie's banner as well. So the way you do this is, if you can only pick one, you should have something like this, right? And then the other one, you can implement it either to the backline one or to this one. The thing about this is, this particular squad will then pincer. The pincer is also something that will make your frontline tanky. Now, why would that be tanky? When it goes frontline to frontline, usually when they clash somewhere here, only a portion of the skeletons go to here, but they never pincer because some of the other frontline also kind of block it. But what happens is, when you have a second squad, there is a gap, a very small gap that only the skeleton's AI can actually pincer from. And then they just pincer, and in some cases are able to kill some buffers, debuffers, or you just reduce a ton of buffs, a ton of debuffs, and, reduce a portion of the damage that the enemy can do. So not many people knew about this, but this sort of thing was actually pretty friggin' decent. You kind of denied a ton of things. So this doesn't work exactly the same, because then they have they can walk two ways, because I think it is enough time for this one to try and fill in the gap. But in such a case, like if you would do it like this, you have the ability to buff 4 skeletons with both Valkyrie's banner and Astrarium Fati. And what's better than 3 squads for earlier versions of people? It's 4 squads with full buffs. Now, also, you could actually place Balrog in there as well. So pretty much something like this for newer servers would be tankier, like pretty tanky. Then it depends like what kind of stuff you have, how many heroes you use. Eventually you might want to just remove this one, but it makes it so that literally you just insert one more hero, and it could be either, say, Hopnia for shields and other stuff, or it could be, say, something like, where is that guy? Kitano, but Kitano for earlier versions of the game, he's not a decent tank, and he's not gonna perform something that is good to perform. So stall size like this would generally be pretty tanky because you overbuff them. And then we have Hero Mastery. So I'm not gonna show the Hero Mastery because there are some people who blindly copy it, but then the trinkets have to be put on them as well. So we have Command 8. Command 8 is a shield from Hero Mastery, I believe, which decreases the damage taken from nearby army by 30%. Meaning anyone hitting your front line right here, all of these 4 squads, they will be tanky as hell. And anyone touching them will get minus 30% attack speed reduction. So that is what buff I use. Then you can have a healing on Virion. If you're early in the server, you might still have access. It's, I do believe, Divine 6. Virion gains 5% HP per second. Now we have to touch on the equipment of Virion as well, because man, building stuff, it takes a long time to explain. In such a build, you have a slight regeneration from Virion, but this is a dragon set, and you have this. When healed, now mind you, Divine 6 is a regeneration effect, but Band of Bishop can also proc it, meaning if you have Divine 6 on Virion very early, and Virion is the tankiest hero very early, this will still make your front line incredibly tanky because you're going to be healing it. You're already going to be healing a paladin, which is the most tankiest thing on your field. So in such a way, your front line is just going to be the tankiest thing out there. And all of these two items are also damage reduction and magic resistance. So Divine 6 and Command 8, and you have an incredible tanky stall side. And that is sort of like pretty much easy how you could build it. Now, the thing about this, the mid-tier stall sides are not incredibly different from this. All that we do is pretty much just swap a couple of buffs, debuff, or rather perhaps stuns and stuff like that, and it changes a little bit. So, for tankiness, it depends who you face. Against some people's burst sides, pincering skeletons are better. Against others, not so much. So, currently, what I would suggest is for mid-tier people who might be placing like 30 heroes, maybe something like that, maybe a bit less, to try and experiment with something like this. What this will do is these skeletons will be frontline, but they will still be very tanky. Avril does usually not have enough range to cover most of the skeletons and then touch Alana. And Alana has to have Solantris, mind you, which is a very long invincibility. So they're gonna have to waste eventually Avril abilities to finish off Alana. Yes, she still might die, right? But you're gonna waste a ton of enemies' Avril abilities, which is also one of the most crucial things for you to waste of your enemy team. So, in such a way, your stall side is still going to be incredibly tanky. Now, for tankiness, you might move your Balrog a little bit back, and instead, you want to move a Theadrin, and in some cases, I would even suggest double Theadrin, because both of them can proc the Sacred Shield, and if you proc that shield, all of your heroes will be tankier, not only just a few. So you want to keep one somewhere, whatever, in your burst side. The other one, you want to keep it somewhere right here. So one of them is always alive, right? And a Prism carry, you can put a very good Prism carry. She's not going to die. Or at least one of them is not going to die. So that is good. So in such a case, no heroes, no gladiators, no whatever is in your frontline. Everything is being tanked in majority by your frontline army, whereas the Balrog with Warmaker's Main, Virion with the Divine 6, and I believe Command 8 will be providing a ton of stuff. Lunella with some debuffs, some healing, as well as Valkyrie's Banner. And then, of course, we have Kitano. So the further you go into the mid game, we have to talk about his abilities. I mean, man, like these videos are gonna take forever. So imagine me talking about all buffs on the burst side. So the way Kitano works is you have a couple of ways to build him. This one is sort of a later game version, has a ton of tankiness, reduction, disarming effect, and then you have the artifact providing like invincibilities and attack speed and stuff like that. A ton of stuff. Then the majority of the thing is in his abilities. So these abilities are mostly passive with a sort of chance to negate enemy Avril. So for the burst side, you would want to level the Aura Blade, and I think some levels in the Idol Strike, maybe higher. Because for the burst side, this in particular one will, like, if you level it, it's gonna literally grant extra damage for your heroes, your army, or whatever to do more damage. I was testing that. And I think that the Idol Strike wasn't really that big or huge. So, I don't know. I didn't really find it as effective as I find this formless swipe. Now, what's the formless swipe doing in the stall side? The thing is, depends where the enemy Avril is placed. How this acts, it acts as a repelling. So, for example, he casts this, he pushes the targets away, heroes included. I mean, the gladiators will not be pushed for 30 seconds, but he pushes them away. After that, there is somewhere here Antaunted. So what happens is, if you're trying to cast Avril abilities, they're going to push the Avril, and you're going to get that, do not cast whatever. It's going to declick you, like one of those things. Then you think the Avril is up. A split second after, he's going to taunt her for another second. And he can just keep doing that over and over and over for like 5, maybe 6 seconds. It really depends how often he's able to do that crit hit. So this is why many people use him directly on the stall side. Actually, he's pretty freaking good. That is why I used him before. But I didn't really have this particular artifact. I think this one, majority of the time, he died incredibly quickly, even with these equipments. But now it seems like this one is kind of adding a decent portion of his survivability. But at the same time, I don't know, I might have added a ton of HP value that made him survive. So let's go back to the stall side. We're gonna improve it after that as well. Let's see. So we have it like this. We have placed most of the stuff on the stall side that we could to make it tanky. However, we are still able to make it tankier. There are a few things that we can touch. So, where are they? Let's see. So, what we want to add is one of the sages, or we want to add one of the generals. Now, if I told you to add Grims, you'd probably say I was crazy. And probably you would, because Grims would just die instantly and do frick all. So I don't think Grims is a very good exception to add, simply because there are a few things to touch on. So I even have to touch on different heroes. So, 1 second. A set like this is not really going to give that much for frontline. Like, they're gonna be exploded regardless. So putting a general with Clash of Fate set for your stall side army, unlikely to really do a lot. Like, it's gonna deny one huge Avril burst, or maybe a Kitano burst, but it's hard to say. It's very hard to say. But eventually, if Lees will be still one-shotting front lines, I might implement this on my stall side. So for now, I don't think it's as crucial, but literally any other general has the ability to put that set on. Now, that's one of the things. The other thing, man, it's crazy, bro. It's crazy how many buffs you have to think about. So there are things like here. So let me find it. This is summoning. That's heroes, that's attack, that's evade. This one, like for example, increases the health of troops near general and sage. So troops, meaning frontline, if you place one, is gonna get more HP. If you place other stuff, this is attack, so this is for archers. This reduces the damage taken by friendly units. Now, what this does is, I didn't really finish it yet, as I'm focusing heroes in specific, or more in specific, mage tier 18, but this reduces the damage taken by friendly units. Now, as always, friendly units are dragons, they are heroes, they are army, so that is why you want to place most sages or generals on the field, and touch as many as you can do. I think once you max it, this is just gonna become like 15 to 20%, which is gonna be a pretty decent buff, I think. Maybe more, maybe less, but that is why you would want to place it. So, aside from that, there is another hero to talk about. My god, there is just too much. Now, Hopnia. Again, same as Kitano, you can use her on burst and stall, but abilities are different. So on burst, it depends if you use archers. If you use archers, you want to max this ability. It's going to make your archers do a tiny bit more. If you want to put her for heroes, like burst sight on heroes, you want to still do the morphing potion to maximum, and you want to do corrosive potion. Sorry guys, I was drinking energy drink a little bit. So what these two will do, especially this one, it's gonna, what is it? The movement speed of enemy melee units in the corrosive march reduced, and their damage taken is increased. So I have a spec somewhere if I didn't reset her. Yeah. It's not my main one that I use, but one of them. Their damage taken increases by 12% per second up to 60% for 3 seconds. Crossing March increases damage taken by enemy melee heroes. If you understand that, this is incredibly good against stall side heroes. Now, it really depends when this procs, how much you're doing, where you place her. As you, I'm not sure if I shown my formations, but in 2 out of the 5, she was on my burst side. But my stall side was kind of starting to fall incredibly fast. Now, the thing is, it's a mix between this hero trying to help you bypass the enemy stall, or it's to make your stall side tankier and stun the enemy heroes. So, again, two builds that you should be focusing or trying out. So, I've had the ability to get a Drake set, so I can max her abilities out and make it better. For stall side, you want stiffening powder. Friendly melee units, meaning heroes, meaning frontline army, equal to, or rather gain a shield 25% of their own max HP for 5 seconds. When a shield is in effect, there is a 5% chance to reduce attack speed. So we have Command 8 already reducing attack speed. We have this, which will further reduce attack speed. The shield and its chance of reducing attack speed can stack up to 4 times. Now, this can actually make the stall side tanky, but the thing about this hero is the riskier you place her, the tankier or rather the more useful she becomes. So, if you place her far in the back, she's unlikely to really be that useful until you potentially just give this. And I think this procs it in a larger area and stuff like that. Then the range of these things happening, you can place her just a little bit further back. But prior to this, you kind of have to have it sort of pretty close to the front line, which, in a sense, the other ability, the Morphing Potion, might be able to help you out more. Now, what this does is every 15 seconds, she throws a bottle, non-massive enemies within range, which usually is like either the frontline heroes, and Avril is usually in range as well. So if this lands, let's see, 30% chance to stun them for 8 seconds, chance is halved. So 15% chance who will be morphed while they're stunned. I mean, it doesn't say, but I think the stun is also reduced by a couple of seconds from your hero mastery. If you have the 30% thing on Avril, it's gonna also reduce it, so essentially this might turn to like 4 seconds on Avril. But you are denying some of the wave power stacks on just nuking your frontline. And then you want these two abilities, this one in particular, pretty much after she receives a killing blow, becomes invulnerable for 2.6. And for each potion, it increases the duration by 20%. Then we have this, which is like the spray, the spit. Honestly, I mean, I don't even know how I can explain this. I know it works. I know it makes it better. I have no goddamn idea how I can explain it. Like, it's just a mess. I don't understand what it says. I mean, I think it helps. I don't freaking know. But aside from that, you use this, outgoing control effects 20% longer, you're gonna stun longer. Attack speed, I mean, I don't know, I thought stuff affected attack speed, but then it was 15 seconds, so anything matters, I guess. There is nothing else you can place for now, and that's pretty much it. The only other thing you can swap on here is, where is that cap? I don't have it. Where is it? Like, there are plenty of heroes that I have it on, like this one, right? I have plenty of heroes with this. So you can't put that on her. I'm likely gonna do that later, but yeah. So with that, we have the ability to even change the formation further. Yeah, man, it's becoming difficult, but bear in mind we're sorta kind of done. So where do we place her? You see, our stall side is full. We cannot place her here because it's gonna knock away our main buffs from the 3. If we place her here, it's gonna knock away the buffs. If we place her here, the Avril is usually just casting the abilities like on the entire thing anyway. So she's likely gonna die most of the time. I mean, so we also want to put more gladiator heroes on our stall side. So what we usually would want to do right now is we just drag this a little bit right here in the mid-tier meta and we just place this thing here. Now the thing is the Valkyrie's banner got knocked off. So for slightly tankier and slightly riskier build in terms of stunning and providing the shields, we have to sacrifice one Valkyrie's banner. So what we want to do is we want to move this right here, right? And now we have a Sage granting more resistance reductions to 2 of these, say, frontline squads. I'm not entirely sure if this does not work on this one as well, simply because Avalon, you know, has the buff that procs on, I don't think it procs on the army, but it procs on heroes a couple of squares away. For example, he's moving quick. Look at how Kitano is moving. So it's hard to test whether or not the damage reductions also would work like that. So yeah, I really don't know. It's kind of hard to test with specific buffs. But in such a riskier build, again, she can die pretty quick. So bear that in mind. But she might provide huge shields, huge buffs. And essentially, in something like this, you don't want for her to have a very good prism. You want to have one of the basic ones that if she dies or eventually dies, you don't really lose too much, right? So, essentially, you add another hero in here. So, what you can do is you either add Balrog right here, so he might, you know, get closer to the front line and perhaps, you know, heal more army, or you keep Balrog a little bit safer. And you add, where is that thing? Gavgar. Yeah, Gavgar is also one of the tankier gladiators. So in such a way, you know, you're kind of building a formation based both on army, based on gladiators, based on buffs, debuffs, and stuff like that. I don't think there is anything else that I might add to this. Let's see. Yeah, that's, I think, pretty much it to make your stall side tanky. Aside from that, you're just adding buffers, prism carriers, and then this entire field right here would be your burst side. And man, there's so many buffs, debuffs, that is just gonna be crazy. It's gonna be a 2-hour-long video whenever I decide to make it. So, aside from that, I mean, you can put some tankiness, hero masteries on some of them. Mind you, you want to have to split some of them for burst side. And yeah, that's, you know, pretty much it. That is how you can build a tankier one. Now let's touch on a few of the gladiators, the builds that I had done. So we have Varian. This is what I use. We already talked about Astrarian Fari. Potential, you don't require any potential on him. Theadrin, I mean, I think I did cover that. Potential 70. I think earlier people should have Sacred Shield. It might make their field tankier. They don't really require reducing resistance on melee heroes because, I mean, Avril will just one-tap them. And this is what you want to have. So you want to improve the Hour of Retribution, but you also want to have this. So you try and disarm enemy Avrils. And yeah, tankiness equipment. Also, the reason you don't want to put too much tankiness on her, like the what's it called? The Excalibur, is because you want this hero to take damage. You want this hero to take damage in the first couple of seconds, regardless if it's on stall, if it's on burst. You want one of them to either die or take damage because of this particular ability granting shield to all of your heroes, all of them. So you want to not overbuff resistances on them, because sometimes you might not place the adrons properly, so the basic of the armies can still proc it sometimes, bear in mind. So you kind of don't want to overdo with resistances, but you also don't want to make her too weak. So let's see. Other heroes. Lunella, I did a different set on her. I did the Clash of Fate, which stuns every some seconds. Usually lands on Banes, by the way. Sometimes on Barrows, but usually on Banes. And Banes are on the burst side. So on burst side, if you don't bypass burst versus burst in a couple of seconds, this can actually help you out. Then, of course, some healing, because she has her own regenerations and stuff like that, but she usually dies pretty quick. Tectonic Axe and Excalibur, like pretty much generic on most heroes. Then we have Gavgar, pretty much same as Kitano build, but you just use whatever leftover tanky artifact that you have left, right? There's not that many that are kind of useful. Like, you have to make do with what you have. Then we have, where is he? Balrog. I use this sort of build. I use it for magic resistance because most mages do a ton of damage, and usually like Tisofins do the most. You have some stun ability for maybe him to stun Avrils and stuff like that. You have Tectonic Axe, Excalibur, shields, and of course healing from Warmaker's Main. Also, I give him Divine 2, I think. That I can tell because it increases his max HP and healing received. So why I do that is because of his particular artifact. So if you have this artifact, I use that, and I use the Divine 6, I believe, Divine 6 on Virion, because that is another hero who would be able to provide a lot of healing. So, abilities, this is what I do. I'm not sure if it's the best one, but it feels like it's working for me, or worked for me most of the time. Yeah. The other stuff is, no, that's not that. I mean, pretty much the same build as literally Gavgar, like other gladiators, except you have his own artifact. Abilities, I think it's more important with these three, because I mean, as much as these help, you want to have at the very least 1 point in this one, because it grants, where is it? Karmic Resolution. Each dark point increases damage. I think somewhere there was like attack. I think I need to level this without spending immediately, or has more. Yeah, I think I forgot to level this while changing, because I think it grants some more like attack speed, whatever the hell, I don't know, and some damage, and in other cases more healing, more resistances. So pretty much you want to have all of these three mainly leveled for the stall side. If you want to do it for the burst, it's pretty much these two abilities maxed, and then you pick one of these and one level in ultimate, and the rest you just split in some others. So, for your Hopnia, you want to have these two. They are the best. I mean, as good as Corrosive Potion can be on you pincering the enemy, but you're basing your chances off for your burst side to win against enemy burst and stuff like that. Personally, I base my chances off getting burst versus stall, and this providing huge amounts of tankiness and utility and stuff like that. But eventually, when I'm able to get potential 70, I will move this hero further away from frontline and try to make a tad bit different formation where she's just, one hero further back. Like, not literally in, close to melee range to the frontline. Because this one will proc it a lot better. So, yeah. Honestly, let's see. Because I also have this thing right here, 5-star. So yeah. And I think that's pretty much it. That is how you build a stall side. This sort of thing works early, mid. I'm pretty certain it works even in later versions, but in later versions you have to make do with other armies. Like, there's people playing with human I tried human. There's people playing with Sylvani. I tried Sylvani. Rakan, I've tried Rakan. Dwarf, I've tried engineers. I've never played mechs. Even with engineers, 1 month plus ago, I was able to easily get 4,300 plus. It wasn't even hard. Like, after that, it depends, but that is how you do it. You have to adjust those to your own liking. But usually this is what you want to do, and currently this is like almost the most or the most that you'd be able to get. I mean, aside from that, if you want to make her a tad bit more safe, but a lot less buff procs, I mean, you can just swap it like this. It's still possible, and of course you're gonna have another gladiator with the Heart of Darkness and stuff like that. So I'm gonna be trying something like this out. I'm not sure. I'm gonna be trying it like this. I'm gonna be trying it like this and stuff like that. I'm gonna be moving all of these 3 heroes diagonally to see which way will make it work better. But yeah, that is how you get a proper stall side. Hopefully this video is not like 30 minutes long, because I don't see how long I am recording, but if it is, I mean, I'm sorry guys, too many things to cover, too many equipments. Now imagine how we would be covering this entire thing right here. And there are like 5 to 10 times more things to cover, you know? So, yeah. Aside from that, I mean, we have a general here that could provide a Clash of Fate set, but it would do that only to these 2 units, right? So in some cases, I mean, you have the ability to perhaps, you know, put the Valkyrie's banner on, say, Gavgar, move Gavgar here, right? And just, I don't know, add like a general here. You're not gonna add Avalon, but then you have the Clash of Fate set on literally everyone around you. Like, I don't think Clash of Fate reaches the second hero as Avalon's buffs, but pretty much most of this would have Clash of Fate set as well. So probably Grimm's, and you want to sacrifice him or stuff like that. There are a few more things that you could add, but yeah, that is what you might be able to do. That is what I currently use in a variety of a couple of heroes, and we're gonna see which one would perform better. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned something new. If you did, do hit that subscribe button. It would help me out a lot. As well as if you would wish to support me more than just watching my videos, I have made a Patreon page where you would be able to do just that. And in return, I would be able to help you out more individually in terms of events, PvP formations, and stuff like that. As well as I would like to thank all of my patrons for the support. I really, really appreciate it for your subscriptions. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for watching. Take care and stay safe out there.